Yeah, thanks everyone for joining the session. So this is Bhaskar. Most of us already spoke and we discussed about the training. So what I will do today, I will first talk for first 10 to 15 minutes about again overview about the training. I will set some context about Fusion applications and how that is different from Oracle applications. Um, and little bit background about integrations. When integrations means what we are going to do and what we have to learn to work in the integrations. After that, I will show one Hello World integration today. We'll get into integration cloud and we'll also do one example. Okay, and then I can take the questions in between. If you want to stop me for any quick questions, you can ask me. But otherwise, also I'll be giving enough time for the questions towards the end of the session or after like talking any specific topic, right? After showing that one example, I will also try to show whatever the integrations I already have in the integration instance. I can just show what kind of integrations we go and develop in future. I won't be able to demonstrate all that because I need to have all the set up properly before if I want to demonstrate that. I need to have the Fusion instance running, all that. But that we'll be doing in the future sessions. But I can at least give an idea what kind of integrations will be developed. Okay. Before I start, anybody has any questions? I'll also talk about the schedule of this training, etc. that I will mention. Okay, so this is Oracle Integration Cloud training, right? That's what we say, Oracle. I'll keep typing while I'm talking, okay? Oracle Integration Cloud, along with the Fusion Technical, right? That's what we are going to learn here, right? So when it comes to Oracle Integration Cloud and Fusion Technical, so let's first understand about what was in Oracle applications. So most of you people work in the Oracle apps and your business suite. And you guys are experts in database technologies, SQL, PLSQL, all that stuff, correct? And you already work in the integrations directly or indirectly. It's not new for you guys, I'm sure. So earlier, only thing is when you are working with the integrations in the Oracle apps and e-business suite, in that word, probably you were always dealing with the PLSQL APIs. Like we have one application which is e-business suite, and you may be having one more application which is the custom application that's also running in the same environment, in the same client environment. You would like to exchange some messages, right? What you do, you still go and write some PLSQL APIs. You'll be able to call APIs from the other application. You want to create some records in the other application, you can send the data using PLSQL APIs. So that's also a kind of integration. Or sometimes you would be working with the DB links. You're having different schemas, different databases, and you are able to communicate or like to retrieve the data from some other schema, then nothing but from some other application with the help of DB, like for DB links and PLSQL APIs, all that stuff, right? So those also you can treat as integrations, right? Only thing is we don't talk too much. Probably you never use that word sometimes, or you use like too lightly, right? Now, so Oracle Apps is all about technically when you're talking, it's a database oriented technologies, right? So if you are good in SQL, PLSQL, and database fundamentals, all that stuff, you are good to go. You can position yourself as a strong Oracle applications technical consultant. Correct. When it comes to Fusion applications, what happens? In the Fusion applications, database is there, okay, but that is only just one of the uh, layers. Database is there in the backend. Database will not go away. Still, the database is very, very critical for the applications. Even today, any architecture we are using, database is going to be still very critical because all our business data will be lying in the database. We are going to have n number of database objects like tables, views, and APIs, etc. Still, it will be there. It is there in the Fusion applications also, right? Fusion applications is running on the cloud. Usually, 99% 9 times it is going to be only on the cloud. That is like SaaS offerings, right? You cannot install your Fusion applications in your local system, your local server. Oracle is going to maintain the cloud the infrastructure for the Fusion applications, the servers, everything will be running on Oracle Cloud. And as a customer, we say that is a SaaS offering. right? And what else? Fusion applications are using primarily web technologies, we can say. It is based on the web technology architecture. So when you say web technology architecture, there is something like MVC architecture, 3-layer architecture. It involves like your UI, which is HTML, right? Usually HTML based UI, that is browser based UI. Then you have the web server, that is application server, and you have the database. 3 layers are there usually. So the web server, application server, which is nothing but we also call middleware. That's where you're writing additional logic, like you have the Java components or ADF components. No, it could be .NET also, but in case of Fusion applications, we primarily having ADF and ADF, Java, and SOA, which is lying in the middleware. The database is still there, and your end user interface is going to be always the browser-based UI. That is also developed using ADF. So that is a primary technology in case of Fusion applications. So basically, it includes ADF, SOA. Also, it uses OBI for the reporting. It also uses OIM, that is Identity Manager, for the security. This is for developing. So what Oracle did, Oracle used ADF for developing the Fusion applications like UI, mid-tier components, etc. And SOA, they used it for developing the integrations. When I say integrations again, basically you are having n number of modules in the Fusion applications. Every module, like Fusion Financial, Supply Chain Management, HCM, every module is going to expose some set of web services. Those web services are available or developed using Oracle SOA technology. Okay, so that's where they are using Oracle SOA. Sometimes they may be even invoking, let's say Fusion applications, financials would like to get some data from HCM. So they may be calling that SOA web service, which is exposed by HCM application. That is done in using Oracle SOA. OBIE is there for reporting purpose. So this is end-to-end development. This is for exposing as web services and integrations. They use that one. And this is used for reporting, like creating the reporting layer, the subject areas, whatever you see in Fusion applications, like OTBI we call, right? That whole thing is developed using OBI, and it's available as a OTBI for us in Fusion applications. That is a reporting layer. We also call subject areas. And OIM is there for security. If you ever work with Fusion applications, you know, right? Security, user management, you can assign the privileges, responsibilities, all that. That is done by the OIM. These are the primary technologies used in Fusion applications. Now, why we are talking about this? Do you really need to understand and have the expertise about these technologies to become a Fusion technical or Oracle Integration Cloud consultant or expert? Not really. You need not learn all these technologies. Okay. But you should at least have some idea about these technologies. What is the purpose of that? Like that. But what we need to know is, now the Fusion applications, yes, it's a web technologies. We should have some idea about web technologies. That's important. Or like that fundamentals, you should be having some clarity. Let's keep SID here. This is good. Fusion applications are using primarily web technologies or middleware, all that stuff, not only just DB technologies, and it's available in the cloud. Now let us talk a little bit about integrations. We already told integrations is nothing but you are having two different applications, right? More than one application. You're having more than one applications in your enterprise. And you would like to exchange the messages among these applications. Application 1 would like to get some data from application 2. Application 2 may want to communicate with application 3, like that. So now whenever you have this kind of requirement, we indirectly we can tell that is nothing but integrations. There is a requirement for the integrations. Why it is becoming so complex? Why we are talking so much about integrations? I mean, we didn't talk so much about integrations in case of EBS world, but why it is becoming so critical now? That is because when you are coming to Fusion applications world, you are having most of the applications running on the cloud. Your financial, supply chain management, HCM, whatever you're implementing, whatever you are implementing in Fusion applications is running on the cloud. It's not on premises. Your client will not be running everything on the cloud. Only the Fusion will be running on the cloud. The client, still they may be having other applications they're running on the on-premises, their own servers, which are maintained in their own IT environment, right? So we are having some applications on the cloud, some applications on-premises, and this is one difference. What is the other difference? Some applications are based on Java technologies, some applications may be based on .NET technologies, like some are coming from Salesforce, that will be like maybe Java or something else. So in a given environment, client environment, you are having heterogeneous technologies. Now this application is Java, this application is .NET, this application is something else. You would like to communicate among these applications. That is mandatory. Without exchanging the messages among business applications, your business will not be, like you cannot run the business, right? At the end of the day, all the applications should be interacting so that the business can take right decisions. So there is always a requirement for exchanging the messages. So it's becoming more complex now because of some of the factors, some are on the cloud, some are on the on-premises, and you're having heterogeneous technologies, right? So that's where we need some solution, or we need some platform which is going to help us to build these integrations, which is going to help us build integrations to exchange the messages among these applications, irrespective of whether they're running on the cloud. Cloud also, it could be Oracle cloud, some of them may be some other cloud, like let's say Salesforce is another cloud. You may be having AWS cloud, you may be having Azure cloud. Some applications are deployed there, some are here. So there are n number of cloud applications running on the different cloud providers on premises. So all this is to enable us, we need some platform, right? So that's why we are talking, or we are learning the new platforms to build the integrations, to achieve the integrations. Okay. So now, whenever you're talking about this kind of heterogeneous environments and technologies, there's already a solution for the integrations. That solution didn't come now. Okay. What is that solution? When you're specifically talking or communicating among different technologies, that will be possible with the help of web services. I'm directly jumping into that, right? That word, web services. Web services concept is there in the market almost for 20 years. It's not new, correct? Integration cloud may be new, but web service is not new. So web service is there in the market for so many years. And in the web service also, there are two kind of web services we call, right? SOAP web services, and then we also have REST web services. Now the SOAP web service is there for almost 20 years, and REST is there for a few years, 3-4 years only in the market. We'll talk about more on SOAP web services, REST web services, difference, creating SOAP web services, creating REST web services, invoking them extensively in our course in the future sessions. Today I'm not going to get into the details of that. But what I'm trying to say is this is a building block for any kind of integrations, whether it is integration cloud or some other cloud platform, some other integration platform. Like what are other cloud platforms you're having? Oracle SOA itself, integration platform. We already mentioned that here. You have Oracle Service Bus, also integration platform, OSB. We also have MuleSoft. That's also integration platform. Many companies use these technologies also. All these technologies are helping us to build the integrations where your applications are coming from different technologies or different environments. Now, the next question is, what is that magic happening in the web service? How web service is going to, is enabling communicating among different technologies? Let us just spend a few minutes on that. So when it comes to web services, in layman terms, you would already know if you attended my sessions, I mentioned this usually, it is going to expose your functionality as a URL. It is going to expose the functionality as a URL. URL is nothing but the functionality is exposed on the web server or application server. This is also called application server. Okay. So you are having some functionality developed in database maybe, but that functionality, if you want to make web service, what you have to do? you have to create a wrapper for that one. You means somebody has to create a wrapper, and that wrapper is going to be available as a URL on some web server. It can be a WebLogic server, which is like full-fledged web server. It could be very small HTTP server, which is running on the same host also. It doesn't matter. As long as it is HTTP or web server, you'll be able to expose your functionality as a URL. The functionality may be running in the Java also. Right? You are having some complex Java logic, which is in the application server. You deploy that application. You want to expose that as a web service. That is nothing but you are going to create a wrapper, and that wrapper will be available as a URL, and that URL is nothing but your web service. Why URL? Because if it is a URL, any client will be able to easily communicate with the URL or access the URL. The client can be in any technology like Java, it could be .NET, it could be C++, any technology. So if it is a URL is there, I can write a client program using the APIs available in that specific technology. Like PLSQL also having util HTTP APIs. Using util HTTP APIs, I can invoke any web service. There's nothing but URL. Java is having APIs. HTTP related packages are there. Using those packages, I can write a client program to invoke a web service. So the moment your functionality is available as a web service, that is nothing but available as a URL, you'll be able to access that URL or access that functionality indirectly from any client which is developed in any technology, as long as that technology or that language is having support for the corresponding APIs. And most of our technologies, what we're talking, will be having that. So that's where the magic is happening. Web service is not creating your functionality like directly. Your functionality will be still developed using some specific technology where you are expert in, or whatever the company decided. On top of that, we're exposing that as a web service. That is happening in another layer. Okay, so you need to have that clarity. I mean, the web service means no magic. So we are doing something. We are basically leveraging the concept of web technologies only. Web technologies also today also, if you go to browser, you type a URL, you are able to communicate with some server, right, which is actually remotely available. All that is possible. So we are leveraging the same concept in case of web services. And this is the building block for integrations. So whenever you are learning any integration platform, without having the clarity on the web services, that is the building block of the integrations, you cannot become expert in that platform. You can go and create some integrations. Today, let's say if I take half an hour session to somebody and I can show how to build some integrations using Integration Cloud, you will understand that. Okay, but the problem would happen is you don't have the complete clarity how the web services work. And tomorrow, if you have to build like some other complex integration, you may not be able to build it properly. Or even if you build it, you may not be having the enough confidence to decide that this is the right way to build it. And if you're getting into some issues, again, you may be like stuck in debugging, in investigating the issues because you don't have the clarity on the actual fundamentals of integration. That is nothing but web service, etc. So in order to become expert in the integrations, you also need to get the foundation very, very strong. That is about web services, difference between SOAP and REST. Also, there are some things like XML, XSD, like then we're also having JSON, all these different representation of the data. Those things also we should get clarity, right? So that's what is very, very important, right? Any quick questions on what we explained so far? You got the concept what I explained here?
Hi Bhaskar, I have one question.
Yeah, sure.
This Oracle Integration Cloud will integrate the application on-premise as well?
Yes.
Like, okay, both on-premise.
Yeah, on-premise is possible. Yes, on-premises to cloud. So basically, let me just put those cases here. So what is asked, Hitesh, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what all integrations we can do is integration cloud, or for that matter, in fact, any cloud, any platform will be supporting this. on-premises to on-premises, and you can do on-premises to cloud. Again, the cloud also, or cloud to cloud also possible. All these combinations are possible, right? Okay, any other questions? I'm getting some chat. In what scenarios we will be using XSD like XML and JSON we use doing SOAP and REST respectively? Can you tell me some examples of on-premise applications? Yeah, sure. The first question I'm getting from Prateek is saying, in what scenarios we'll be using XSD? Yeah, we'll be actually learning that XSD also in the next session. But the XSD why we need is, when we are working with web services, the web service is nothing but, again, you're exposing some functionality. The functionality will be having some input and output. You're writing some API kind of thing, right? The API will be having what is the input and what is the output. You did same thing in PLSQL also. To represent input and output structure or the type, you need to define a standard XML document. Like, no, let's say my input for the web service would be employee details. And employee details will be having some specific XML structure. And that specific XML structure you are going to define using XSD. That is called XML schema definition. So basically XSD is going to help us to define the types in XML, record types. We'll be doing that actually in detail. That's the next session we are going to do that. Okay. And then, does it answer? Sorry. This chart is not very clear here. Yeah. And Vignesh is saying, can you tell me some examples of on-premise applications? On-premise application is nothing but any application which is running locally in your server. Locally means in your own IT environment. Like you are in a company. Your company is having some data center. Your data center is having some server. On that server, you're having some applications running. Those are nothing but on-premise applications. Like this is what we have been using. Right? What is cloud? Cloud is nothing but the data center is not in your environment. The server is not running your own data center. The server is running on the cloud data center, which is like remotely available for you over the internet. There is nothing but cloud. Actually, I think let me spend maybe 5 minutes to understand about the difference between on-premise and cloud and IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Should we do that? Or everybody knows about that? If anybody wants clarity on that, I can just talk about 5 minutes.
Yeah, you can clarify that.
Right. So now these are, you just think everything logically. That's very important, because you guys, all of you guys are already having experience in the industry. And what we're learning or what we're doing now in the Fusion applications or integrations or web services is not everything new. We know the concepts. You have been doing in different means, and now you are doing a different means, right? Earlier we were using everything using PLSQLs probably. Now you want to achieve the same kind of requirements in a different approach with the help of web services like that. But the requirement is still same. And what else is coming into picture? The cloud is coming into picture. But all these, if you just think logically, it becomes very simple, and try to relate to what you know already. That's very important. I mean, sometimes people say, forget about what you know. You have to forget you have to unlearn to learn new things. But in this case, I would not say that word. Don't unlearn. You try to relate with what you know. That's very important. In that case, it becomes easy. It becomes familiar to you. If you think everything new, it becomes difficult. Okay. So now when it comes to cloud, what is happening in the cloud? The cloud concept also leveraged based on the web technology. I can say that. So earlier, what was happening? Whenever you're accessing any web application on the cloud, I mean, any website, right? Like Google, Gmail. Gmail is not running in your server, right? And the Gmail server is running somewhere on the Google data center. And multiple people are able to access that server. There is nothing but you are accessing that application as a cloud indirectly. We never said that is a cloud. The concept is like cloud only. Cloud means what? You are not running the server in your data center. It is coming from over the internet, and somebody else is managing that server for you. And as an end user, as a customer, you are going to access that functionality using some browser. You log into some browser, you'll be able to access that. That means that is indirectly like some way of accessing your cloud. Okay. There are terms like IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. We can get into technically later, but I will just again explain layman terms. If you have to develop an application, let's say I want to develop one HRMS application. Think like you are actually the business owner of some company, and you want to manage your employees. For that, you decided to develop some HRMS application, or you decided to have some HRMS application, some software. What you would do in the if you don't know anything about cloud or just forget about that, what you would do? First, you will say, yes, I will hire somebody, some software expert or IT expert. Then I'll buy one server, right? Like Windows server or Linux server. Then what I will do? I will install OS. Already it is there, maybe part of the server, Windows or whatever. Then what I will do? I will decide that, okay, I'm going to develop this application using Java technologies. That means I will buy probably say WebLogic server license, because in Java technologies, I decided to develop as a web application. That's why I need some server. This is my application server. I will also buy some database because I need to store the data. What else I need? I need to have some Java technology. I'm buying all these things or taking the licenses. Then what I do? Hire some developers, Java developers. Then develop web application. Before that, you are developing database schema. Then develop web application using Java technologies maybe. Then deploy the application on WebLogic server. What it is going to give you? It is going to give one URL. And this URL you are going to give it to, pass this URL to employees, your accounting, your HR team, etc. What HR team can do? They can use your URL, that is nothing but web application, to hire employees or to manage their salaries, everything. What employees will do? They log in and they can see their pay slips. They can apply for the leave, etc. That's what you want at the end. In order to get this one, you have to do all these things as a business owner. What I'm doing, I am making some phones. I don't really care about software, but I had to do all these things because that was the only option available. Now, what happened in the cloud technology? You will not do any of these things. You will only take the URL from Oracle or Salesforce. That is nothing but cloud. Cloud is helping us to directly jump here. I don't care about software. I mind my business, that is making the phones. Why I need to bother about all these things? That's where the cloud is helping us. How this is possible? Whatever you are taking up to here, if you are taking server, right, and install OS, these two things are nothing but coming from IaaS. Some people may say, I want to manage all these things on my own as a business owner. I will only take the server from Oracle or whatever AWS. That means we are taking only IaaS. Some people will say, I take server, that's operating system, also from Oracle. I will also take WebLogic server, database, and Java technology also from Oracle Cloud. That is nothing but you are taking PaaS also from Oracle. You are not managing that. I will only take care of developing the application because that is going to add more flexibility to me. I don't want to buy this because no cloud provider is providing me that application directly, what I need. HRMS may be available, but my business is different and I need some application. It is not available, then what I will do? I take these two things from cloud up to your server, everything, but I will develop and deploy there. That is my responsibility. Some people would say, no, everything is available in the cloud. So that also you take from Oracle. That becomes SaaS. You get it now? SaaS means you are directly getting the application. You don't need to take any responsibilities. PaaS means you are getting even the middleware database servers on the cloud. You don't need to manage this infrastructure. You are managing only developing the applications. IaaS means you're getting only server. Then still your responsibility is to install the WebLogic server, install the database. That is your responsibility. So you have to decide now, based on your need, what I'm going to take from cloud. This is in layman terms, okay? Is that clear? Any questions on this? Now, what it comes to IaaS PaaS, here examples could be from Oracle. Anything what you take, for example, Java Cloud Service, Database Cloud Service, even Integration Cloud, SOA Cloud Service, all are coming as a PaaS. If I'm talking bare metal, just I want some infrastructure, only Linux, whatever, like some X version with 128 GB RAM, and then I want like 5 TB of hard disk. You can take like this also from infrastructure. That is AWS. Usually in AWS cases, what we do, we take IaaS and PaaS. Right? You don't have many applications running on AWS directly. People may be deploying their own applications, but when you go to Oracle, Oracle is primarily focusing on SaaS, not only these things. So all the business applications like Fusion Financials, HCM, not only that, there are many other industry-specific applications like GPU applications like healthcare and all that also available in SaaS, right? So all those are SaaS applications. So I'm getting some chat message. Being a OSC developer, do we need to focus on IaaS? Not really. Being OSC developer, what we care is, in fact, we will be caring only developing integrations using OSC. We don't care about, IaaS. That is taken care of by Oracle. In fact, we don't even care about WebLogic server, even though our OSC will be running on a WebLogic server, but Oracle is actually giving that WebLogic server to us. And we don't even know where is that server running. They have made so much abstract view for the developers. It's really easy. Okay. So any quick questions? Let us move on. Okay. So now, so on-premise is nothing but, again, I hope Vignesh, you got the clarity. Anything running in your own server, in your own environment is on-premise. If it is not, it is going to be cloud. And cloud, again, it could be cloud, what we are talking, it's coming as a PaaS, SaaS, or IaaS, based on the nature.
Hey Bhaskar, quick question.
Yeah.
We have this Beppel component, right? One of the key component on the Fusion application stack. And also we have something called Process Builder on the OIC. So how do we differentiate both of them? Are they both same, or they do different jobs, different kind of work?
Yeah, I'll explain that, sure. So we're having Oracle SOA. We're having so many technologies. This is again another complexity for everybody. We need to get clarity on those also. We'll be actually talking about in detail of these technologies over a period of time, but I can quickly answer that. Oracle's SOA. We also have the Process Cloud Service, and you also have Oracle Integration Cloud. Actually, all these are related. So what is Oracle SOA? Oracle SOA and Oracle Integration Cloud, concepts-wise, more or less same. It's a platform used for developing the integrations. Oracle SOA available on the cloud is called SOA Cloud Service. If you're buying and installing it on-premise, it's becoming normal SOA. Otherwise, it's going to be SOA Cloud Service. In case of SOA Cloud Service, you can do integrations with the help of like Mediator, Beppel, and also you have other things like HumanTask and business rules. Even though they are not part of integration concepts, but Oracle has tried to make SOA suite. So it's additionally they made HumanTask, etc. also available, because this is going to help us to create workflow, all that stuff, and business tools, etc. Even in on-premises, there was BPM, business process modeling, or business process monitoring, BPM. So using BPM, what you can do here, you can develop something called process modeling, and also you can link to your technical services. This is nothing but you are going to link to your human task or one of the SOA service basically. So whenever you had any workflows, if you are having integrations, you will go to Oracle SOA earlier also. But there also I can say, I want to have a simple workflow. I can build using human task. You need not go for BPM. In case of BPM, you will go to BPM when you're having very complex workflows and approval mechanisms. And you don't want to involve technical people from the right, from the the design or the requirement gathering. The BAs are going to use process modeling to create the high-level approval workflows. And then your SOA experts will be actually implementing the human tasks, etc. And you both are linking that. Yeah, I mean, the developer is going to link both of them together. So there was no gap. What BA developed, the same thing will be working as it is. There is no additional documents required to communicate in the requirements. That was the Oracle SOA Suite and BPM. There are two different things. Now, in case of cloud, what happened? It's trying to get these technologies on the cloud. What Oracle did, Oracle took two approaches. The first approach, what they did, they want to get everything on the cloud without any time delay. That's the reason they introduced SOA Cloud Service. The SOA Cloud Service, whatever you can do here, you can do in SOA. At the same time, they started developing OIC also, ICS. ICS is a integration platform which is developed from scratch. It was not there on premises as it is. And they kept everything the cloud concept in mind, how somebody is going to use in the cloud, what kind of interface they're expecting, what we want to make flexible, what we want to hide it, what kind of overhead should go to the end users and what should be taken by Oracle. Really, they did a lot of research and they decided that ICS is going to be an integration platform available in the cloud where you did not really worry about maintaining your servers, maintaining your infrastructure, nothing. You just go to integration cloud and build the integrations and activate and everything will be working. But when they did this, they did only these parts in the ICS. These things are not available in ICS. And BPM, I don't know if it is there or not on the cloud, but then in order to get this thing and this thing on the cloud, they developed Oracle Process Cloud Service. So you will go to Process Cloud Service if you have the requirement of building large complex business workflows with the approvals. If you don't have that, you will only use ICS or SOA Cloud. Yeah, basically ICS, okay, I would say. That's nothing but ICS and OIC we use interchangeably now. Earlier we used to call ICS and now we call OIC. But OIC means it includes ICS plus Process Cloud Service plus VBCS, all that in the integration server. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yeah, yes, Oscar. Thank you.
Thanks. So with that, let me actually show one example in the integration cloud. We may be jumping a little bit here because it's the first session, and I would like to give some overview about different technologies. I may be going a little bit fast today. I'm not sure, or it depends based on your experience and all. What we'll be doing, let me show one integration first, then I'll talk about more things so that it will become easy also to relate. So I log in to my integration cloud. So how I logged in? I have the subscription on Oracle Cloud. I have a cloud account. In the cloud account, I created one integration cloud instance, OIC instance, and I came to the home page of my integration cloud. So when you come to home page of integration cloud, actually it will be like this. It's having integrations, which is nothing but your ICS. You're having Visual Builder, that's nothing but VBCS. Processes, that is nothing but PCS, Process Cloud Service. And you also have something like monitoring, settings, and all those things. So what we are focusing primarily when you're talking integrations is this one, right? So you come here, then you're having integrations, connections, lookups, packages. All these we are going to learn in depth, etc. in the training also. Okay, let me click on integrations. Let me set some context what I want to do first. What I want to do is, let me, I'll be showing some web service example today. You may be having some confusion what is WSDL, why we are doing this one. But I want to show one so that you have that confusion. And when you are going to talk about those technologies, it becomes easy for you to understand. Okay, if I, without showing this, if I'm talking too much of theory, it becomes too difficult to imagine what we're talking, right? Visualizing that. So that is the reason. What I will do now, I have a web service which is running already on somewhere. Web service means what you need in order to invoke a web service. It is like if you want to invoke a PLSQL API, what you need to know the PLSQL, like the API name, what is the input output, etc. Right? Like that, if you want to invoke a web service, you also need to know the details of the web service that will be available using WSDL. We'll be talking about WSDL again in the next session. Okay, don't worry about too much about it. So if you want to invoke, the client needs to know what is the WSDL. Right now, the WSDL, I have one WSDL here, which is called Hello World Service. This is an existing web service. Now I want to test that web service. How can I test it? There is a tool called SOAP UI. There is a tool called SOAP UI. You can use any tool. There is a Postman, one more tool. Like that, using these tools, you can test your web services. I'm still not talking integration cloud. Okay, I'm outside integration cloud. When I come to SOAP UI, it's not out, it is outside the integration cloud. I'm just setting the context, what I want to do. I have a web service. Let me test that web service using my, like I can create a SOAP project here in SOAP UI. Browse, and it's available in actually in the D drive directly. I kept that hello world. There's a WSDL available for me. I want to test that. That's why I'm creating a client here. And here, if you look at this one, it's having two operations in the web service. The web service is having two operations. Say hello, visit timestamp details. Okay. So now I want to call this one. Double click on that. It is exposing say hello operation. It is expecting some SOAP. This is called SOAP record or SOAP envelope, which is again XML. So I send some name here. Let's say I send my name, Bhaskar. I want to call this service. I will be getting a response called hello Bhaskar. But this will be available in XML only. We'll talk about this like why XML, why like envelope, SOAP envelope and all. In the next session itself, we are talking about XSD, WSD, all that stuff, okay, in detail. I'm just showing one example. See, this web service is already available. I'm able to invoke that. I'm getting hello Bhaskar as a result. Okay, no questions on this slide. This is existing web service. What I want to do is, hello Bhaskar I'm getting, but this is not what I'm expecting. I want like this. Hello Bhaskar, greetings from Oracle Cloud. I want to have the output like this from the web service. But this web service is not in my control. I didn't develop this web service. Somebody else developed, either in my company or outside my company. I don't know much. Only thing what they said, this is an API available for you, and you can use this API. The functionality of this API or the web service is, if you give the Bhaskar, it's going to get hello Bhaskar. If you give like Ramesh, it's going to get hello Ramesh. Okay. You can visualize this one with any other API. I'm giving hello world. It could be XYZ API. You are getting some ABC output. But the ABC output is not sufficient for you. You want to have ABC plus something more. What do you want to do now? You want to enhance this web service. You don't want to write from scratch, because this is very, assume that this is very complex logic they used to get hello Bhaskar. Even though it's a hello world, it's simple. But think like it's very complex logic they are implementing web service. I don't want to rewrite that whole logic. I want to enhance the existing service. How I want to enhance? I want to write my own web service. My own web service. This is like wrapper service. This is going to first invoke, and I will call this one as a greeting service. Okay. What the greeting service is going to do? The requirement is, if I give Bhaskar, it has to return me hello Bhaskar Oracle Cloud. That is my requirement. This is the input and that is the output. So to achieve this one, I would like to call the existing web service hello world service. First take hello Bhaskar, then concatenate this value whatever you need, and that I want to return as output. That's what I want to build my own service. Okay. So in this, I want to invoke hello world service, existing service, then manipulate the output. The output what I'm getting. So that is going to be written, modified, or enhanced output, I would say. Is the requirement clear? Any questions on this? No questions. Very simple requirement, right? So hello world service is there, and I want to develop a greeting service, which is enhancing my functionality. Now, where can I do this? You can do this in Java. You can develop some web services. You can do in many platforms. I want to do this using Oracle Integration Cloud, even though it may be too much to use Oracle Integration Cloud for this small example. But this is going to help us to understand the end-to-end of Integration Cloud flow. So let me log into Integration Cloud. So what I will do today is I am going to first create something called connections. That's what we are going to do in the integrations. I'll create two connections. One connection for hello world service and one connection for my greeting service. This is called trigger service and this is called invoke service. So this is called, sorry, let me put here. So I'm going to create connections. One is for accessing my hello world service. This is called invoke type. And I'm also going to create one connection for greetings. Greetings is actually what I am developing, but I need to create one connection for that one also. That is called trigger connection. This is what I need to do first. Let me go here. Create one connection. So the SOAP based connection. We'll talk in detail why SOAP, why trigger, all that going forward. I'll create something like BK. Sorry, some problem. By the way, there is some downtime planned for this integration. They said within 3 days it may be down for, it will be down for 8 hours anytime. Hopefully it should not happen now. Somebody joined. We have a meeting. 1 second, please. Hold on, please. Is it becoming too much to focus what I'm talking? It's okay, right? One second, please.
Bhaskar, just a quick question. Is this connections and adapters are interchangeably used both or they both same?
Yeah, they use many times interchangeably, but they are different. Adapter is an existing, like it's like a piece of software which is running, and you will create connection based on the adapters. But yes, when you're talking in the discussions, you will say, I have a connection for SOAP connection, like that's sufficient. You need not talk about adapter.
Okay.
So here I would say BK hello world connection, which is my invoke connection. I create that one. Invoke type, create. I'm creating a SOAP connection, and for creating connection, because the SOAP connection, I need to have the WSDL. So the WSDL I need to choose where it is available. So this is a hello world, right? I have that already. Same I can use. In fact, I have here also. I'll take from there. This is all. Whatever I'm using here, you will be actually getting access. These files, WSDLs, everything I'll be sharing that. So here I will take my hello world WSDL. Upload. Then what we do, this username actually it doesn't have any authentication, so it's going to be no security. Because I'm invoking, I need to also mention whether there is any security. But hello world doesn't have any security. So I am validating and testing and save it and go back. So I have created one connection for hello world service so that I can use this connection in my integrations. I'm going to create one more connection. Again, that is also based. And this I'm going to say BK greetings. Let me put something like July 20. It's already there. No, it'll be easy. This is going to be no. This is okay. Only connection, right? BK greetings. It's trigger connection. Okay. Let me put that as a trigger. So I created connection. For this also we need to have the WSDL. For that one, I already created WSDL. This WSDL is not coming from anybody. I have created my own WSDL, that is greetings trigger.WSDL. Since I am developing the web service for greetings, it is my responsibility to have the WSDL. In case of integration cloud, that is mandatory. And I'm going to protect my connection using username and password token. Test it. Save and go back. That is done. Two connections are configured. Now I go to integrations. Let me create the integration. I'm going to create app-driven orchestration. There are different types of integrations you can create. So we are going to do all these kind of integrations extensively in the training going forward, right? One by one. Primarily, we'll be doing app-driven scheduled, but that's what you do in reality also. What is the difference between trigger and invoke and why we are using trigger here? Yeah, I'll probably answer that either after this integration is done or maybe in the next session. Yes, that confusion will be there. Don't worry, it's okay. Okay, Pratik. So I will create app-driven orchestration. Select so I will say BK greetings July 20. That is my integration name. I'll also use some package called BK here. So this is my integration where I'm developing the integrations. See, this is the beauty of integration in cloud, right? If anybody is coming from Oracle SOA, you will understand what was the complexity there to develop the integrations or develop the SOA applications. If you want to develop SOA application, you need to have the JDeveloper. Then you develop the application there. Deploy that to SOA server. So many things come into picture. Here, no tools required, right? You come here, you develop everything here only. Now, this is like your Beppel development. If anybody is coming from SOA, you can relate this one to like Beppel. And what are the connections you develop? Those are like your service connections on the right side of your SOA application. Similar to that. Now here what we do, this is my trigger point. The trigger point is going to be based on some connection. The connection just now we created, no BK greetings connection. I'm telling I want to use this connection as a trigger point for my integration. Trigger point is nothing but, this may answer your question also, Pratik. Trigger is nothing but you are exposing that service and the client is going to call that trigger connection or call your interface or your integration through the trigger connection. Okay, so this is my BK greetings July 20. Some endpoint name you have to provide while you are creating integration and dropping your connection. You say next. So I'm exposing my integration with the help of trigger connection here. Then this is called mapping. This mapping is required to return the final output to the client. Okay. Now to get this final output, what I wanted to do, coming to my logic, I want to first invoke my hello world service, get the output and manipulate it or enhance it, and return that enhanced output to my client. So now, before I return, I'm going to invoke my existing hello world service here. You can see plus is there. You can click on plus. Then you can choose your service here. You can type it. It's already showing here otherwise. You can also search like this. Hello world. You can see hello world connection just now I created. Take that one. Give some endpoint name. So here I would say hello world service. Yeah, that's fine. Click next. The hello world service, if you remember when I went to SOAP UI, you remember it was exposing two operations. The SOAP UI also a way to invoke the web service and test it. I was able to do it. The same operations you can see here also. Say hello and visit timestamp details. This is existing web service. I want to call say hello. Your web service may have multiple operations. In one invocation, you will decide what operation you are going to call. Click next. Then click next here, nothing much to do. So now you are invoking. Let me put this in vertical, from vertical to horizontal. It will be easy to locate it. Also make a little smaller, a little more bigger. So this one is in the client call is coming here, and I'm going to invoke my hello world service. For invoking hello world service, I need to send some input here. Based on the input, I'm going to get the response, and that response I can send it to my client. Before I do that, I can enrich my output. I can manipulate that output also. So before this one, first I need to map the input. For that, there is a map activity. This is like writing a programming only. This is also called orchestration. If you think this one, the PLSQL also, you will do same thing, right? This is what your starting point of your PLSQL. You are calling an existing PLSQL API. While you're calling, you have to send the input parameters to that one. Once you get the output, you will manipulate that and return that output, something like that. Logic will not change. Okay, you have to you better to relate that way. So only thing interface is different. Here everything is declarative. There is no coding. So my hello world service say hello operation is expecting some input called name. And where is it available for me? In the greeting connection, I'm taking some input called first name. I take the first name and map it to that name, the say hello operation. Okay, validate and close this. So it's nothing but you're doing something like this. I'm having greetings API, which is taking, I'm writing some logic here, name. It is taking first name as a input parameter. So here begin and end. So what I am doing now, I am calling hello world existing service, which takes name. So I am passing first name as a value to that one. This is how you write in the programming. That's what I did, this mapping I have done here. Then I get the output here. After this point, I'll get the output. Now I have one more mapping. This mapping will help me to return the value. The return value is a greeting. Now the greeting, what I need to do, I need to take my hello world service, what is the response I'm getting. Okay, and that I want to map here. So what I will do, let me do that enhance enrichment of that one. I can say create target node. I can use one operation called concatenation. You will get all those operations here, the advanced functions, string functions, date functions. This is called mapping, XSLT mapping. You can use those functions also, but I'll just directly type like this concat. What I'm concatenating, whatever the response comes, that say hello return, the first parameter. After that, I want to say greetings, comma, greetings from Oracle Cloud. I want to add that additional thing. I'm concatenating the say hello return response with this one. And that is mapped to now this one. This is not simple mapping here. I am doing some function also. Validate and close. Sometimes this hangs, not that frequently, but sometimes. So the response is gone automatically. You need not do anything to send the response. The moment you map to the appropriate the node, that will be your output also. There is one more step will be available in the integration. That is called creating the tracking field. The tracking field can be like one of your input parameters. So you can create 3 tracking fields, which is going to be helpful when you monitor your requests later on. Save this and close. I'll take the questions. I'll come back if anybody has questions. Let me first just run this and so that you get the clarity end to end. So my integration is created now. We create the connections, create the integrations. In the integration, I'm invoking or I'm using those connections. Then what I do, I'm going to activate my integration. I click on activate. And while activating, you can enable tracing, payload. We'll talk about that, what is the difference or how it's going to benefit us. I activate it. It will take like a couple of seconds to activate. Activated, you can see the status is activated, active. And after that, you can click on this, there is one run. And when you click on run, you are going to get the WSDL for this, the new service what you created here. Service and integration you can interchangeably use. Whatever the integration you are creating becomes a service. I'm saying that again. Whatever the integration you are developing, it becomes a service automatically. Now, using this WSDL, I want to test it. Now I'm not in the integration cloud. I'm somewhere else outside the cloud. When I am in this Chrome, this browser, this URL, I'm in the cloud. When I come out, this is my local system now. My SOAP UI is running in my local laptop. So from here, I want to test my integration. I want to test means I'm exposing my integration also as a web service. It means I'll be able to call that one using SOAP UI tool. So how do I do that? Same steps I do. So forget about this hello world for a moment, okay? Now I'm running my own greeting service. So greetings OIC service I'm calling. Click OK. Now this greeting, this is a request. If you remember, the greetings was taking first name, no? That's what I'm sending here now. Now I send Bhaskar here. My greeting service is also protected using username password. So I need to send that username password here. Authentication, new authorization, basic authentication. This is going to be my cloud account details actually. So this is what is my account. Streamtech.com. Correct. And then there is something called you have to add WS username token. This is nothing but it's adding your SOAP security header. And then you can submit. So if everything is working as expected, one second please. So here, now you can see, hello Bhaskar, greetings from Oracle Cloud we are getting. This stuff, hello Bhaskar. It is our service. So if you send something else, of course, get that one. Right? So what we did now, it's not a great or complex example to showcase the integrations, but this is a good example to showcase in order to understand this interface a little bit, get some familiarity. And we are creating like all these different objects what we need, like creating the connection, then trigger connection, invoke connection, and we also create one integration. We also enhance the existing service right? It was a hello world service. We want to enhance it. We're able to create like new service, etc. Get an idea. What we'll be doing taking forward. Wait 1 second here. Okay. Any questions on this? What I have done? Any quick questions on this?
Buster Sandeep here.
Yes, Sandeep.
Just a question. So we created two different connections, right? First one is first SOAP connection is something available outside. Is a public API which prints the hello world string, right? My question is around why do we create another SOAP? It is just because we need to make this integration as a service available and call it via SOAP UI, or because end of the day, in order to just append a string, right? Like to the hello world, the whatever the concatenation we have done in this demo. So do we need that additional connection? Can't we just take the response and then append the concatenation thing and then simply expose it?
But
That's
expose
something
is, expose is what?
The output, whatever the output.
What is that? Is it going to be your Java API or is it going to be PLSQL API? What are you What are you developing here?
Okay, you mean just because
whatever you're developing, I need to access that somewhere, right?
Oh, right.
The question is what you're developing. Are you developing a Java program? Are you developing a PLSQL program? The answer is you're developing a web service.
Right.
If you're developing a web service, you need to have a WSDL. That's nothing but you're creating a connection. So what I did at the end, now, I developed an integration, nothing but a service, which is going to take the first name and give hello first name, greetings from Oracle Cloud, right? So this is a different, this is one way to create a web service now. You get that point?
Got it. End of the day, this just exposes as a web service so that any other third-party application can easily consume the same thing and utilize this response.
Exactly.
In the third-party system. Makes sense.
So now within your enterprise or outside enterprise, wherever, right, you can expose this as an API or web service. They can consume it. Now, the question is, are we always going to expose our integrations using as a web services? Maybe or may not be. There are two types of integrations we can create. The integrations which we are exposing, the integrations which are scheduled or automated. When you are scheduled, you are not exposing that outside integration cloud. I create it and I will schedule it is going to run like a job. There, everything I know what to do in the integration. I read some data from FTP, then I maybe calling some external service and then do some manipulation, and then I'm generating some file or writing some database. I'm doing all those things in integration. I'm not expecting to have any response or input there. In that case, you will not expose. That is called scheduled orchestration. In that case, what we do, we create as a scheduled orchestration. I did app-driven orchestration because I want to expose it. Okay, right. So now, what we do is, if you don't have any questions, any other questions? I know there might be many things not clear. So some people might be thinking, you may be thinking like, no, I don't want to answer because I'll get clarity in the next session. Yes, you are right. You'll get more clarity. In fact, going forward, we are going to take it more structured manner where we are going to, this I think the right time to go and open the syllabus also. Should be there in IQ stream here. Most of you already gone through this one. So the way we are going to learn this whole thing to make it more systematic and make it more logical. So here we organized into 4 different parts. You might be knowing, right? So part 1 we are calling as ICS. Part 2 we are calling Fusion Technical. Part 3 we say advanced live integrations with Fusion apps. Part 4 is the related technologies like your ADF, VBCS, PCS, and so on. 4 parts. What we are trying to do here, when it comes to part 1, we're going to build the foundation on the web services, XML, XSD, JSON. We're going to spend more time on that in the next session. Slowly, we build that clarity. Then we go and work with the integration cloud. Like today, what we have done, we've done very small example. In fact, you will never create a service like this, right? This is the smallest integration I could say. You are going to work with different adapters like file, FTP, database, SOAP, REST, Oracle ERP Cloud Adapter, all those things like we are going to learn. We are going to work with different integration patterns like basic routing, publish to OIC, subscribe, app-driven, schedule, whatever I was showing there. Naturally, you are going to understand about data mapping and what is the trigger connection, invoke connection, more information on that one, activating and testing integration like we have done, right? Then there are different mechanisms, how to invoke a SOAP service, how to invoke a REST service, how to create SOAP, how to create REST, how to convert from XML to CSV, CSV to JSON, JSON to XML, whatever, like to different combinations, right? All those different kind of things. Extensively, like the orchestration activities. When it's orchestration activities, what happens is when you open the integration, right? Let me open an existing some other integration. Let me deactivate this one actually. The little more advanced integration with Fusion applications, correct? The one I am just opening here. See, this is having more activities. It's also having something called a fault handler here. It's called fault handler. It's also having something like that. And here we are actually communicating the Fusion applications also. In order to get the orchestration, like expert in the orchestration, development of orchestrations, you also need to work with all these activities. You have to learn how to use for reach, scope, switch, while loop, what is process, JavaScript integration, assign, all this. Like we may be JavaScript and all not part of the course, but everything else we'll be doing here, managing the faults, etc. All that. And after you create the integration, after you create and you activate and you test it, let me show one monitoring also. I'll come back to that one. But coming back to your course curriculum, this part 1 is all about learning the ICS with different use cases and different concepts. All is like the artifacts of integration cloud. We're going to do some project work and use cases, dealing with FTP, dealing with database, zip files, XML data, CSV data, JSON data, right? And then there are also different other use cases, etc. So with that, we'll be doing like your part 1. There is a new concept available called local file server just available this month only. I'll be talking about that one also, including that one also. How to use your local file server in Integration Cloud, all that. Then it comes to Fusion Technical, will not be spending too much time here. In the ICS, we'll be going very, very in depth. Here we will cover your OTBI and BIP reporting, file-based data import. This is about your data loading in the Fusion ERP. There are some steps available, right? First, you're going to download the template from Oracle documentation, prepare the data, upload that to UCM, schedule the service, wait for the job completion. Then you can go and check the log files. That manually how you are doing, we are going to learn all that FBDI. And then creating the BIP reporting and creating the OTBI reports, that whole thing we are going to learn. And we are going to deal with enterprise schedule service, how to schedule services, how to monitor those jobs, how to create even the custom BIP report, and then understanding about file import export, UCM. This is Fusion Technical. Here, we are not going to touch anything about Integration Cloud, this part, right? This is about Fusion applications. We log into Fusion applications and we're going to do there. The SaaS. when it comes to part 3, whatever you learn in the part 1 and part 2, now I know ICS, how to develop the integrations. Now I also know BIP reporting, FBDA, etc. I'm also familiar with like to some Fusion UI, the SaaS. We put together that knowledge and we're going to build advanced live integrations. What we're trying to achieve here, whatever the BIP report I developed in the part 2, I want to develop integration which is going to download that report, run the report and download the report with the help of a web service which is available in the Fusion applications. I am developing an integration for that one. Call that web service, provide all the inputs required to run your report, BIP report, and then get the data and manipulate it based on your requirement. When you say manipulate, you want to send it to your file, or you want to put some condition business logic and only extract it to the specific records and create that as an unset CSV file. What are the business logic? So we are going to learn that one use case, for example. The second use case, like to FBDA automation. Whatever you've done manually in the part 2 for data loading in Fusion ERP, you are going to automate that one. What that will do? So here, FBDI automation, what we are doing, let's say you're having an FTP server and you have created your CSV and zip files over there. If anybody understands FBDI, this will be familiar what I'm talking already if you're working. So the moment I activate my integration, I'm creating the scheduling. Let's say every day morning, 8 o'clock, it is going to go and check for these files, load those files or read those files in the integration. I'm going to prepare that way, read it, upload that file to UCM with the help of, again, we are going to learn that with the help of 2 different aspects. One is using SOAP web services, also using Oracle ERP Cloud Adapter. Both are possible. So using this one, we are going to upload the file to use UCM. Then you will be able to schedule the service in order to execute your file-based data import. Wait for the job completion, download the log files, and write that log files into your some FTP location. That whole thing will be happening inside the integration. You are not going to do that manually. So we are going to do that kind of integrations using FBDA. Then you are going to work with some REST APIs. So Fusion is exposing 3 things. Fusion SaaS. It's exposing SOAP web services. It's exposing REST web services. We also have a Oracle ERP Cloud Adapter. This is not exposed by Fusion application. This is available in the OIC platform. Now, when you're in the OIC platform, when you're developing integrations in Oracle Integration Cloud, you can interact with the Fusion applications with the help of SOAP services, with the help of REST services, with the help of Oracle ERP Cloud Adapter. So we are taking multiple examples, different use cases, one with SOAP. I mean, one are more than one, of course. I mean, few SOAP, few examples with the help of REST, and few examples with the help of Oracle ERP Cloud Adapter. We'll also discuss in detail when to choose what, on what basis you are going to decide factors. Should I go for SOAP or REST for ERP Cloud? What are the pros and cons of that? We'll be discussing that as well. So if you look at here, you can see here I'm using SOAP service. This I'm using ERP Cloud Adapter. This I'm going to show in fact using both ERP Cloud Adapter, also using ERP integration service, which is a SOAP. Then I'm going to get the suppliers using REST API, creating the suppliers using SOAP API again. The difference between FBDI and this one would be FBDI is about data loading when you're dealing with a large amount of data. When it comes to transactional data, I have a few records in the database. I want to read that on-premise database records and create the records in my Fusion applications with the help of some web services or ERP Cloud Adapter. It is a different use case. We are going to take those use cases also. This again we can do using SOAP, also using Cloud Adapter. Both will be doing that one. Here also you can take different use cases where the data is coming from. Use case 1, you are taking the CSV data from FTP. Use case 2, you are taking the JSON data from some maybe some other file system. Use case 3 could be you also want to get the data from on-premises. Then you want to create the data in Fusion applications. You also get the handle the fault management and upload the status back to your database. Like this actually is doing that one, the example what I was showing. Okay. So this is what we are doing in the part. The part is very, very important. This is, we are getting a real time exposure here. How you can apply your, what are the concepts we are learning here in the part 1. Okay. In the part 4, then after you go to part 4, where you are learning about like Oracle ADF. Again, here we cannot go in depth. Now we are actually taking like large technologies again. Like these itself pretty like big technologies. We're trying to understand those technologies with the help of a couple of examples, so that you're getting some idea about these technologies also. And Oracle SOVA, in fact, you are going to get more or less everything what you need. Then PCS and also VBCS, right? By end of this one, you will be in a position to decide, get an idea about the difference between OISC and Oracle SOVA. In what situations we're going to choose SOVA versus Oracle Integration Cloud, pros and cons. If you have to participate in the discussion, technical discussions in the decision making, like you can take the right decisions. You can contribute in the discussions. So if you don't know Oracle SOVA, again, somebody says, no, I want to develop Oracle SOVA integration, not Integration Cloud, then you will not be able to participate in that, right? So here we're getting that picture also. We are going to discuss that in detail. So this is how you are learning this technology. So you are starting from very basics, and then you are going to like advanced concepts and real-time use cases. So by end of the training, you should be very confident of working on like any kind of integrations, providing solutions independently without any like much doubts. So that's the whole idea. So if you look at this one, I was talking quickly that. So this is what we are doing. If you look at it, this is in fact creating suppliers with the help of adapter, cloud adapter. We're reading the data from database, taking a for loop. Then we're using like here call the adapter, mapping the data. Then we are waiting, getting the like the response. Then I'm updating the status back into my local database, on-premise database. If there is any fault, I'm handling that one here. If it is fault, then I want to update like error. And then I want to send a notification here. The notification, what you want, whether it's complete or fail like that, etc. If you want to see, look at the integrate. Yeah, I mean, I'm just giving an example. What kind of integration we'll be developing like going forward. Right. And then coming to the session timings, let me just quickly tell that if somebody wants to drop, we'll be doing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm having a little bit confusion. Some people are asking 7:30 and some people are asking 8. Is everybody okay for 8 a.m. also? Anybody has problems if I want to start sessions at 8 a.m. instead of 7:30? And Saturday is going to be 5:32 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And this is going to be 8. It's going to be 1.5 hour session on other days. If it is 8 a.m., it is going to be 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Otherwise, it's going to be 7:30 to 9. So I just want to take your opinion. 1.5 hour. Yeah, it is going to be 8 to 9:30.
Saturdays, can we have it in the morning time?
Morning, what time?
Yeah, I mean on Saturdays, instead of evening, can we have it in the morning?
Oh, you want on Saturdays? I thought.
Yeah. I mean maybe in the something around 10 to.
Yeah. I will do that if anybody joining from US, I cannot do that. That will be too late for them.
Okay.
I need to just check that one. Otherwise, evening is good for everyone because it will be early morning for US folks. And for us also, we'll be generally free that time. Free means anyway, now it is more or like lockdown. So we can do that one. Okay, we'll decide that. If no US folks are there, I'll make it morning also, not an issue. But anybody has problems for 8 a.m., I just want to get that because I need to decide that. If everybody's
no issues.
No issues, right? We'll make it 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And Saturday it is going to be 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. We may change it to morning if possible.
Awesome.
Right. Any other questions? When is the next session? Yeah, that's a good question. So what we'll do next one, I think I'll start from Monday. That's what I'm thinking. We'll take this regular session from Monday. That is from, will that be okay, or anybody wants to have before that?
Yeah, if you can continue tomorrow and Saturday also.
Okay, I'll do one thing. Tomorrow I cannot take it because I have another session. I'll make it on Saturday.
Okay.
Next session I'll make it on Saturday. I am going to make it 7:30 a.m. only. I'm sorry for that. For this week I have some conflicts. From next week I'll make it the normal timings. This Saturday I'm going to take the session at 7:30 a.m.
Okay.
Or sorry, not 7:30, 8 a.m. I'll send this message to you guys anyway. Saturday 8 a.m. I will take the next session. We'll continue. Any other questions about anything what we discussed, our course, how it is going to be? Course, again, I'm going to share all the resources what you need. Whatever I'm talking about, like XML files, XSD files, WSDL files, everything. There's also an activity guide I'll be sharing. Activity guide is going to help you to work on like the practices again. This whole folder I'm going to share on Google Drive. Where is that? Sorry. It is here. This whole folder I will be sharing. There's an activity guide. It's also having a software here. What you need to install, like your SOAP UI and this one, Oracle. And then you have other files here. The different kind of files, CSV, XML, XSD. And then you have the WSDLs, all that you are going to take it. I will be also showing some examples using Java later point of time. That's why I think I kept some files here which are related to Java. Some people ask me like how to invoke this integration from Java, etc. We're talking about that. Many things actually. It's very difficult to mention what we are going to do in everything, but yes, we'll be doing all that stuff. And then I'll be sharing the recording access to everyone. On the same day, you'll be getting the access. And then you'll be getting Fusion SaaS for 6 months and OIC instance for 2 months. And then the FTP server. This won't be required now because Cloud also, OIC is coming with the inbuilt FTP server, but you can also use my FTP Cloud server also. This sometimes maybe having some restriction a little bit. I went to completely paid instance now. I'm actually paying a lot of amount to Oracle. I'm trying to keep it restricted, but like morning 3 hours, afternoon 3 hours, night 3 hours, but it's not still confirmed. I may make it 24 hours also. Okay. Mostly I'll make it 24 hours because I'm trying to understand actually how Oracle is charging. It's actually a little bit costly, this Oracle integration instance. I think they're charging based on the uptime. Sometimes they said, sometimes I understood like not about uptime, it's going to be charged even if it is not up, but the instance is there. So if that in that case, I need not bring it down. I'll just keep it up for 24 hours. Okay, but I'll make sure that you have the access to your record. I mean your practices. One commitment I need from you guys is you are going to work on the practices without fail. That is one reason we are doing alternate days during weekdays, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So whatever we do on Monday, I'm going to show most of the things I'm going to show, demonstrate, not really too much of theory. The same thing you are going to practice on this instance before the next session. That commitment is required. Not only that same exercise, sometimes I'll be asking to do a few more use cases, like a little bit variations of that use case, right? I can also show everything, but it's also important that some of the use cases you are thinking and doing on your own. So you need to spend the time and work on the practices, come back with like that done. If you're stuck with anything during like your practices, you can try to get my help through email and calls if possible. Otherwise, we can discuss in the next session. If you're stuck with something, I can open that integration and also discuss about that file. So it's very important that you are spending or you are allocating some time for the practices. You have enough time, like Tuesday full day, Thursday full day, Saturday and Sunday, like that, right? That's the only commitment I need. Then only you'll get that completeness. All right. That's all from my side. Okay, I'm getting some. How about recording access? You are going to get, yes. I'll be giving access on the Google Drive for the recordings. Instant details, yes, I mentioned that. When is the next session? Yes, it's going to be Saturday, 8 a.m. IST. Right. Any other questions? You'll be getting email about the bank account details. Please check that, and you can do the payment registration from using that one. If you have any questions, you can WhatsApp me and call me or send an email. Right. Any more questions? I can stop here if you don't have any questions. We'll meet on Saturday, day after tomorrow. All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time and thanks for listening to me with patience. I will stop here.